A streamer in Korea just got sentenced to 6 months of hard labor for kissing a statue. A Russian court hit Twitch with a fine bigger than all the money on planet Earth. And a guy named Miskif just filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit that could change live streaming forever. This is how streamers became the legal system's biggest headache. Let's rewind for a second. Twitch launched back in June 2011 as a spin-off of an older site called Justin.tv. 3 years later, Amazon bought it for around $970 million. At the time, it was Amazon's biggest acquisition ever. Today, Twitch has roughly 240 million monthly users, around 35 million people watching every single day, and over 7 million different streamers going live every month. In 2024 alone, viewers burned through more than 20 billion hours of content. And that scale is the whole problem. Because when millions of people are broadcasting live, unscripted, with no delay, the law eventually shows up. And the law was never built for this. So let's start with the lawsuit everyone in the streaming world is watching right now. The defamation bomb, October 25th, 2025. A massive Twitch streamer named Emily Shunk, known online as Amiru, goes live and accuses her ex-boyfriend of, and I'm quoting here, psychological and domestic abuse, stalking, harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail. That ex-boyfriend? Matthew Rinaldo, better known as Miskif. One of the most popular streamers on the entire platform. They had dated from 2022 until early 2025, and both were part of the same media company, OTK Media. Within days, another giant streamer named Zach Hoyt, who goes by Asmongold, started covering the allegations on his own channels. According to court documents, one of his YouTube videos on the topic pulled around 1.9 million views. The complaint says he repeatedly called Miskif the aggressor and abuser and said Miskif should be in jail. But here's where it gets worse. OTK Media cut ties with Miskif and, according to the lawsuit, clawed back over 1.1 million shares of company equity from him. So on November 3rd, 2025, Miskif fired back. He filed a defamation lawsuit in federal court in Texas. Case number 1:2-5-CV-01773. He's suing Amiru, Asmongold, OTK Media, Mythic Talent Management, and King Gaming Labs. The complaint claims loss of OTK equity worth over $1 million, lost contracts worth around $600,000, and additional fee claims pushing the total toward $900,000 more. The defense fired right back. Asmongold filed to dismiss, arguing Miskif is a public figure who has to prove what's called actual malice. That basically means he has to show the defendants either knew their statements were false or didn't care if they were. That's a much harder bar than a normal person would face. In March 2026, Amiru filed her own motion to dismiss, with her lawyers calling her stream-protected opinion, what they called emotional truth. As of right now, the case is wide open, no trial date, and here's the wild part. This isn't even the only defamation case orbiting these streamers. Back in March 2023, a streamer named Adriana Lee filed a separate suit in Austin against Miskif and others, seeking over $2 million. Miskif announced in January 2025 that the case got thrown out. But it gets crazier. There's the case of Stephen Bonnell, who streams as Destiny. In February 2025, a federal lawsuit was filed against him in Florida by a smaller streamer using the name PXLE. The suit claims Bonnell shared an intimate video of her with a fan back in 2022 without her knowing. That video later surfaced on a harassment site in 2024 and got viewed at least 78,000 times. The complaint hits him with the federal revenge porn statute, Florida's cyber-sexual harassment law, and seeks at least $2 million. And then there's XQC, real name Felix Lengyel, one of the highest-paid streamers alive. His ex-partner Adept filed for divorce in Texas in November 2022, claiming common law marriage to grab half of his stuff. XQC says an initial $500,000 suit got dismissed in August 2024. Then in October 2024, he revealed Adept refiled in California, this time asking for $10 million. His response on stream? Even if I had to pay $1, I would still not accept it. But the lawsuits are honestly the tame part of this story. When streamers commit actual crimes. December 28, 2017, Wichita, Kansas. A 25-year-old guy from Los Angeles named Tyler Barris calls 911 and falsely claims he just shot his father and is holding hostages at an address on West McCormick Street. Here's why he made that call. He was hired to do it. Over a $1.50 bet in a Call of Duty match between two other players named Casey Viner and Shane Gaskell. Gaskell gave Viner a fake address. Viner asked Barris to SWAT it. When police showed up, an officer shot and killed Andrew Finch, a 28-year-old father of two. He had nothing to do with any of it. In November 2018, Barris pleaded guilty to 51 federal charges. On March 29, 2019, a federal judge gave him 240 months in prison. That's 20 years. His scheduled release date is January 14, 2035. The U.S. attorney on the case said it plainly, swatting is not a prank. Kansas passed the Andrew T. Finch Memorial Act in April 2018, making a swatting call that causes death a Class 1 felony with sentences up to 41 years. Florida followed in 2025 with its own law, and the FBI launched a national swatting database in June 2023. But sometimes the streamer isn't the victim. Sometimes the streamer is the criminal. May 14, 2022. An 18-year-old named Peyton Gendron walked into a Tops grocery store in Buffalo, New York, with a GoPro mounted to his helmet, broadcasting live to Twitch. He killed 10 people. He injured 3 more. All of his victims were black. Twitch took the stream down in under 2 minutes. At the moment of the attack, only about 22 people were watching live. But here's the nightmare. A copy got reposted to another site called Streamable and hit more than 3 million views in 24 hours. A Facebook repost reportedly got 46,000 shares before being taken down. The New York Attorney General's office later released a report saying platforms including Twitch were, quote, weaponized to publicize and encourage copycat attacks. Gendron's federal trial is currently scheduled to start August 17, 2026. The Department of Justice announced in January 2024 it would seek the death penalty. Now here's something a lot of people don't know. This kind of violence isn't an American problem. It's a global one. On March 11, 2025, a 22-year-old Japanese streamer named Eri Sato was stabbed to death on a Tokyo sidewalk while she was live streaming. Police arrested a 42-year-old man the next day. According to reports, he had traveled around 100 kilometers after seeing her announce the stream. He recognized the building behind her. The motive? A debt of around 2.5 million yen that Sato had refused to repay despite a court order. And then there's the assault that finally forced Twitch's own convention to confront this. On October 17, 2025, at TwitchCon in San Diego, a man crossed multiple security barriers and grabbed Amiru, the same streamer at the center of the Miskif lawsuit, right at her meet and greet. He tried to forcibly kiss her. Her personal security pulled him off. On X, Amiru wrote, "The man who assaulted me was allowed to cross multiple barriers at TwitchCon to grab me and my face and try to kiss me." She accused Twitch's own security of doing nothing. But listen to this one. Some streamers travel internationally specifically to commit crimes on camera. The clearest case is Ramzi Khalid Ismail, known online as Johnny Somali. He's been arrested or banned across Japan, Israel, and South Korea. In Japan, August 2023, he was arrested in Osaka for trespassing on a construction site. He eventually got convicted of conspiracy to obstruct business and fined 200,000 yen. But South Korea is where everything fell apart for him. In October 2024, Somali kissed and performed a lap dance on the Statue of Peace. That statue is a memorial to so-called comfort women, women who were forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese military during World War II. He was indicted in November 2024 and barred from leaving the country. On April 15, 2026, the Seoul Western District Court found him guilty on all 8 charges, including obstruction of business and distributing fabricated sexual material. The sentence? 6 months in prison plus 20 more days, a 5-year ban from working with children, and placement on the U.S. Sex Offender Registry when he's deported. The court said he repeatedly committed crimes against unspecified members of the public to generate profit via YouTube and distributed the content in disregard of Korean law. And then there's the case in France that might rewrite the rules for every platform on Earth. August 18, 2025. A 46-year-old French kick streamer named Raphael Gravin, known as Jean Pormanov, died on stream. During a live stream that had been running for over 280 hours, he had been subjected to 12 days of physical and verbal abuse from his co-streamers on camera the whole time. French Digital Affairs Minister Clara Chapaz launched a judicial investigation against Kick on August 26, 2025. In January 2026, the two co-streamers were taken into custody on charges including assault, abuse of a vulnerable person, and recording and broadcasting violent images. Later in 2026, the Paris prosecutor requested arrest warrants for Kick's own managers when they didn't show up for questioning. So if you're enjoying the deep dive so far, do me a quick favor and hit the subscribe button. It genuinely helps the channel cover stories like this. Now back to the chaos, the copyright wars. The legal nightmare isn't all violent crime. Some of it is just music. In May 2020, Twitch went from getting fewer than 50 music-related DMCA notices per year to thousands per week. The Recording Industry Association of America had finally decided to enforce its rights on the platform. Twitch panicked. They started bulk deleting clips instead of letting users fight the takedowns. Streamers got banned for playing their own original music. The platform got caught completely flat-footed. In October 2020, the RIAA and the National Music Publishers Association sent Twitch a letter saying Twitch was, quote, allowing and enabling its streamers to use our respective members' music without authorization. Twitch eventually struck licensing deals. The first big one with Warner Music Group in September 2021. Then there's Nintendo. Because of course there's Nintendo. In November 2024, Nintendo sued a streamer named Jesse Kagan, who went by Every Game Guru, in federal court in Colorado. The allegations were brutal. He had streamed at least 10 leaked or pre-released Nintendo Switch games more than 50 times since 2022. He distributed emulator links. He shared piracy tools. When Nintendo's lawyers contacted him, he reportedly bragged he had 1,000 burner channels and could, quote, do this all day. On Facebook, he wrote, should have done more research on me. You might run a corporation. I run the streets. Yeah. Turns out Nintendo does in fact run a corporation. After Keegan destroyed evidence and dodged service, the court let Nintendo serve him by email. The final judgment in October 2025 hit him with $17,500 in damages and a permanent injunction against any future Nintendo infringement. Nintendo could have asked for around $1.5 million. They chose the small number specifically as a deterrent message. And then there's the reaction content disaster. In January 2022, two of the biggest streamers on Twitch got nailed within days of each other. Pokimane suspended on January 7th for streaming Avatar: The Last Airbender, a Viacom DMCA strike. The next day, Hassan Piker got a DMCA notice from Fox for streaming MasterChef. He tweeted, quote, the MasterChef meta is over. A few days later, Twitch actually pulled the Fox strike back, ruling it was fraudulent. Piker's response said it all. I got lucky. I don't think this changes much. DMCA, it's case by case. Copyright holders can do anything. Here's the weirdest twist in this whole story. In June 2025, Ethan Klein, the YouTuber who famously won a landmark fair use case back in 2017, filed his own copyright lawsuits against 3 streamers including Caseytron. He's seeking $150,000 each for streaming nearly all of his 100-minute video about Hassan Piker with what he called minimal commentary. The guy who helped define modern fair use online is now testing how far that doctrine actually goes. But none of this compares to what happened with gambling. The gambling implosion, September 2022. Twitch's relationship with gambling finally explodes. A streamer named Abraham Muhammad, known as It's Sliker, with over 400,000 subscribers, gets on stream in tears. He admits he had been scamming fellow streamers and viewers out of an estimated $200,000 to $300,000 over about 2 years to feed a gambling addiction. The loans he had taken from other streamers ranged from $1,000 all the way up to $50,000. On stream, he said, what I did was horrible. There's no way of escaping this. XQC and another streamer named Trainwrecks TV publicly committed to covering the roughly $300,000 owed to the victims. The fallout was instant. On September 20th, 2022, Twitch tweeted that it had seen some people circumvent its rules and was about to act. On October 18, 2022, Twitch banned streaming of slots, roulette, and dice games from any site not licensed in the US or in jurisdictions with strong consumer protections. They specifically named 4 sites: Stake.com, Rollbit, Duelbits, and Rubit. And here's the scale of what got banned. Viewers had watched 244 million hours of gambling content on Twitch in just the first half of 2022. XQC himself admitted his followers had wagered roughly 119 million euros on Stake through his promotion alone. But here's where the story takes a sharp left turn. Just weeks after Twitch's gambling crackdown, in December 2022, a new platform called Kick launched out of nowhere. Kick is run by a company that traces back to 2 men named Bijan Tehrani and Ed Craven, the same 2 men who co-founded Stake.com, the exact same company Twitch had just banned promotions for. Kick offers streamers a 95-5 revenue split versus Twitch's 50-50. In June 2023, XQC signed a roughly $70 million non-exclusive deal to stream there. The legal heat hasn't stopped either. In October 2025, a class action was filed in Missouri against the rapper Drake, the streamer Aiden Ross, and Stake's parent company over alleged deceptive trade practices. In April 2026, a separate class action got filed in New Jersey, adding the streamer DJ Academics to the defendant list. Similar suits have popped up in California, Virginia, New Mexico, and Ohio. The system breaking. Beyond the individual cases, streaming is breaking the entire legal framework of the internet. There's a Russian streamer named Kirill Malafeyev, known as Likrit. He's the son of a sanctioned Russian oligarch. When Twitch suspended his account in early 2022 to comply with US sanctions, he sued Twitch in a Russian court. The Russian court ordered Twitch to pay 100,000 rubles per day, doubling every week with no limit until they reinstated him. According to Polygon reporting in February 2025, Twitch's own lawyers stated the running penalty is now, and this is a real quote, larger than all the money in the world. YouTube faces a similar Russian judgment reportedly above $20 decillion by late 2024. Amazon is now countersuing in US courts trying to fight it. Then there's the child safety problem. A Bloomberg investigation in January 2024 found 83 Twitch clips out of about 1,100 they sampled contained sexualized content involving minors. An earlier Bloomberg investigation in 2022 identified nearly 2,000 accounts systematically following children across the platform. Twitch CEO Dan Clancy responded by saying, "Youth harm anywhere online is deeply disturbing." And then there's deepfakes. On January 30th, 2023, a streamer named Brandon Ewing, who goes by Atrioc, accidentally showed on his own stream that he had open browser tabs to a deepfake pornography site featuring fellow streamers Pokimane, QT Cinderella, Maya Higa, and Sweet Anita. QT Cinderella's live stream response was raw. "To the person that made that website, I'm going to fucking sue you. I promise you. With every part of my soul, I'm going to fucking sue you." She later told NBC News she couldn't actually find a lawyer who could take the case. Her words, "Every single lawyer I've talked to essentially have come to the conclusion that we don't have a case. There's no way to sue the guy." Atrioc ended up spending around $60,000 funding takedown notices for the affected women himself. All of this sits on top of one law, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Under Section 230, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and Kick are almost never legally responsible for what their users broadcast. Even if it's violent, even if it's defamatory, even if it's a literal crime. As one University of Kansas legal researcher put it, Section 230 provides pretty darn good, though not absolute, protection for internet providers. But that protection is finally starting to crack. Outside the US, the EU Digital Services Act, which took full effect in 2024, puts much stricter rules on live content. Australia passed a law back in 2019, right after the Christchurch attack, making it a crime for platforms to fail to remove abhorrent violent material. Up to 3 years in prison, fines up to 10.5 million Australian dollars, The new reality. So here's where we are. A multi-million-dollar defamation case between Twitch's biggest streamers is sitting in a Texas federal court right now. A French prosecutor is trying to extradite Kick executives over a death that happened on a 280-hour live stream. An American streamer is doing 6 months of hard labor in a South Korean prison for kissing a statue. A Russian court has hit Twitch with a fine that, mathematically, exceeds every dollar that exists on planet Earth. And the legal doctrine that has protected all of these platforms for 30 years is finally being put on trial. Streaming might have started as the Wild West of the internet, but real-world laws are catching up. The defamation suits, the swatting prosecutions, the international arrest warrants, the gambling crackdowns, the copyright wars, the deep-fake reckoning, they're not weird edge cases anymore. They are the new normal, and the courts, the police, and the lawmakers of the world are all still scrambling to figure out the rules for a medium that was never supposed to need them. The Wild West had its laws too. Eventually. We're just watching the streaming version arrive in real time.